How far did you get with your education?
I literally dropped out my sophomore year in college, and due to my business being successful at that time.
And what business are you referencing here?
Glam Glizzy Beauty. So that was my first cosmetic company. Now I'm like kind of more of a lifestyle brand. I have everything on my website from clothes to stuff for your office, you know what I mean, to makeup, all of it.
And what's the website if people want to check that out?
SteffiKut.com, and that's my grandmother's name.
And care to spell it?
SteffiKutt.com.
Now, for time reference, it's September 2021, but what schools did you attend growing up? Elementary, middle, high school,
Oh, goodness.
college?
Okay, so in Washington, I went to Manitou Park Elementary School. Then I went to Midland Elementary School, fourth and fifth grade. I went to Ford Middle School, sixth to seventh grade, and I actually won vice president my seventh grade year, and I had to move to Memphis, so that was a bummer. So my seventh grade year, I went to three different middle schools. When I first got to Memphis, I went to Craigmont, and then I finished after basketball season at White Station Middle School. And literally after that, I just finished everything at White Station Middle School and White Station High School. Then I graduated and went to University of Memphis for 2 years, and that was it.
And you dropped out sophomore year, so did you at least obtain an associate's degree or no?
No, I didn't. But I was considering going back just to finish it and have that since, it's not too many credits off. So yeah, that's still up for consideration.
Now, these schools that you mentioned, whether it was elementary, middle, high school, college, were these public or private schools?
Public. My brother went to private school. He was blessed with like an athletic scholarship, but me, I just, I did the thing. I love my public schools.
And this is a biological brother.
Yes, I have one sibling one biological sibling. His name is Marcus.
Older, younger?
He's younger. He plays for the University of Arkansas. He's a football player.
Same mother, same father?
Yes.
Now, what kind of kid were you in class, generally speaking?
I'm not going to say I was very quiet. I definitely feel like I was more of an introvert, but I was never afraid to speak my mind. I don't like ignorance. I don't like when there's like class clowns and playing and stuff. So I always kind of minded my business, but I was always cool with everybody. So it was just chill. I was chill.
Being cool with everybody, were you part of a certain crowd at all or no?
Well, I was an athlete, so I played basketball, I ran track, I played volleyball, I played softball, I played on the golf team. I've literally done it all. Like when it comes to sports, athletes just run throughout my family, and musicians. So it's just kind of like been a thing.
We'll talk about both of those elements here in a little bit, but first, when it comes to this description of being an introvert, you were always like that, or did that stem from something?
I feel like it stemmed from being in such a protective household. My parents have been together my whole life and my brother's life, and since my mom was in seventh grade, my dad's like I think a year or two older than her, so seventh, eighth grade, and they were really protective of everything that me and my brother were seeing. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want us to be out in the real world dealing with these problems until we had to. So I thank them for that, but I feel like it did make me a little bit more antisocial. And still to this day, I feel like I have a lot of social skills that I need to work on because my name is Lonely for a reason. Like, I'm very comfortable with myself. I love being with myself. But when I get around other people, it's like earthquake, But it definitely stemmed from being in a protective household.
Now, when it came to the schools that you attended, any of them, did anyone become well known or famous themselves?
At any of the schools,
Yes.
I'm trying to see. Do y'all know Co Cash?
Yes.
He went to White Station and he blew up. You know, he's doing his thing. So shout out to Cash. Tay Keith, I want to say went to White Station. I'm not too sure. I can't remember, but I think that he did. There was a few people in that same like age group that I feel, because they supported each other. You know what I'm saying? But
when it comes to Cash or Tay Keith, did you see any of these two when you were going to school at all?
No, they graduated before me.
Okay.
I think Cash might have been a senior when I was a freshman.
Now, in today's interview, you have makeup on.
Mm-hmm.
You have your hair put together. You have this outfit on. Were you always like this, or was there a point when you were a tomboy growing up?
Oh my goodness. So I feel like I am like the blend of a tomboy meets girly girl, because I'm down to get dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not in no like a bad way, but I'm down to hang out with the guys, hang out with the girls, let's do some stuff, let's work out, let's whatever. But I'm also into my glam. I feel like this is my way of doing art, because I can't draw, but I love to paint and I love to, you know, do my makeup. I feel like that's my me time. So I started falling in love with makeup maybe around 7th grade.
How'd your parents feel about that?
So I wasn't allowed to wear it to school, but although I did, you know, grow up in a protective household, they let me express myself freely and creatively.
Now, would you follow the rules, or would you ever slip some makeup on after you left the house? And
so going back to like what you said, like what type of kid was I never really disrespected my parents. I always had a guilty conscience. Like, I never wanted to do wrong because they always spoke so highly of me. And my parents had me at a young age too. So it's like I have so much respect for that I didn't want to be bad, or you know what I mean? So there was times where I would take like mascara or like maybe a nude lipstick, but you wouldn't catch me in no like bright colors wilding or none of that. Like, it was always on a respected level.
were they aware of the mascara or the nude lipstick, or?
Eventually, I think I did it like maybe 2 or 3 times. It was never a lot, but I don't know. My mom, they eventually started just letting me do it in 8th grade, so it wasn't no big deal.
And is that a conversation you have with them when they let you do this, or?
That I was using it before? Or what do you mean by that?
Well, when you say they let you do this, did you mean they let you wear makeup to school finally?
Yeah, they finally.
Okay.
So like my mom took me to MAC, and I had like a pressed powder foundation. I still use the same one to this day, and she also got me like some mascara and lip gloss. So she took me and got me right.
And when it comes to music, we'll talk about that first.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever take a music class in school?
Oh my goodness. I was in choir like my whole life. Loved choir.
And this was choir in school?
Yeah, and I also was in band for 2 years. So 6th grade, well, a year and a half. 6th grade and part of 7th grade in Washington.
Why didn't band last longer than that for you?
Honestly, I feel like I was influenced. I had a best friend at the time, and she had, you know, dropped out of band, and she decided to do, I think it was PE or something like that. And I was like, oh, well, she's doing it, let me do it. Because that was like my ride or die. We did everything together. But I do regret, I played the clarinet. I do regret not finishing that, you know, and taking it serious.
Because?
Because if I did, then I probably could play the clarinet right now. Who knows? Or the saxophone. But if you play an instrument, stick to it. Consistency is key with anything in life, y'all. For real.
So you did play the saxophone a little bit, or it was just clarinet?
So it was clarinet, but I wanted to start with the clarinet and transition to saxophone, things like that.
What led to the clarinet, though?
Honestly, like, they gave us a list of options of what they offered at the school, and I think that was probably one of the last instruments open, because we signed up last minute anyways. And yeah, I just got stuck with the clarinet, but it was cool.
Were you ever teased for being in the band?
No, like, I've never been the person to get teased. People would try me, but I've never been able to get bullied.
Was there ever a thought on jazz band or marching band for you?
Never marching band because that is literal, like, physical, work, labor. But maybe jazz band, that's definitely more my vibe.
Did you ever do any competitions in that time you were in the band or no?
No band competitions. We did do performances, but with choir, we actually traveled to Disney World. That's in Florida, right?
Yep.
We went to Disney World and we competed in like the big competitions between all choirs and we won.
And let me just fact check that because there's two Disneys. I wonder if one is land and one is world.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I think Florida's world.
Disney World's in Florida, yes.
Perfect. See, I thought I knew something.
Yes, Disney World is in Florida.
Disney World is my favorite. It's better since the last time I've been.
Did being in the band, we'll talk about choir here in a little bit, but finishing up the band segment, did any of you being in the band at all help with you being a recording artist?
Absolutely. I feel like I'm able to hear things differently and not even knowing that it's coming from that. Like, once you acquire knowledge when it comes to music, it's like it all just blends. It starts to all make sense at some point. So if you learn how to play an instrument, it's just like learning how to sing or hit a certain note. You know what I'm saying? It's just two different instruments.
Could you have gotten to where you're at musically at this point, though, without the band?
No, because I wouldn't be able to communicate different sounds to my producers and how I want things. And that's one thing even Z-Boy can stamp. Like, I'm very hands-on with how I want my stuff to sound. I know my instruments. I try to know the definitions of the things going on Pro Tools and all that stuff. Like, it's important to me because, I respect everybody's position on my team.
And for transparency, Z-Boy is in this room with us today.
Yes, he is. He's sitting over there. That's why I was looking that way.
Now, when it comes to choir, what vocal position were you?
I think it was alto. When I was in middle school and we did the competition, alto.
Why that position there?
Because my voice is a little bit deep and raspy.
When it came to going to Disney, how far did you get with that competition there?
We won. We took home the big gold.
Was it called something specific?
I really cannot remember. It was literally the Twilight Zone because it was my first time really doing something at that scale. So it was like, what is going on? We're in this big room. But it was really cool.
What did that feel like to win that?
It felt like it was very motivating. Like, I remember us being in this auditorium and they had all the choirs separated and they're like calling out, third, fourth place, all this, and they get to first place and we're all sitting there and we just pop up and we're like, it's just happiness.
And just refresh my memory, how far did you go with choir as far as the grades?
All the way until the end. So, like, literally since, I don't know if I did it in elementary, like in kindergarten, but all that I can remember.
Now, I've asked you this question in regards to the band, but now I want to ask you in regards to choir. Did this help you with being a recording artist, choir alone?
Oh, definitely.
And could you have gotten to where you're at musically at this point without it?
No, definitely not. I mean, I'm sure people could if they're like, natural born singers, but I like to call what I do vibing. Like, I just like to do what I feel. I don't necessarily want to call it singing because I don't be doing them runs and stuff. Like, I just vibe. So, and choir taught me how to control my voice with those, type things.
Even though you were singing in that capacity, were you ever the type to freestyle or battle other classmates?
Oh, I'm the freestyle queen, honey. Stop playing with me. Like, my dad is also a rapper and a producer. His name was Tragic Sin. And growing up in Washington, me and my uncles and my dad, we were always in the booth, always in the studio doing something. So they used to hype me. We used to freestyle, battle with them.
And these uncles were on your dad's side, it sounds like.
Yeah, like, his friends. I call them my uncles.
Did you have a song you were promoting back then when you were in school?
When I was in school, I used to drop stuff on SoundCloud and on YouTube. It would just be like random things, different covers.
Did any of it get popular in your school or amongst your classmates?
When I was a freshman, like folks really used to try to tease me, especially the older kids, because we're freshmen, we're coming in, and a lot of people, like I said, I was cool with a lot of people. So when the older kids would come around and we were like, showing our YouTube videos and stuff, they would be like, oh, look at y'all, like y'all are on there rapping and singing, y'all look corny, like whatever, but look at where we're at, you know what I'm saying? So if that's happening to you, keep doing what you're doing and tell them to mind their business, okay?
Did you participate in any talent shows growing up?
Every talent show I could, I tried to, so I've participated in a few.
Was it always music or something else?
When I was younger in elementary school, me and my best friend thought we could dance. So every year we would come up with a routine. Like, I know we had danced to T-Pain at least once or twice, okay? We had them apple bottom jeans and the boots with the fur. That's all I got to say.
Now, when it did come to music, were they ever original songs or just covers?
So me and my friend MJ, this is the best friend I keep referring to, we had a group called Too Sweet, and our symbol was like a cupcake, and we had songs, like I can't remember any of the ones from back then. We were like in 4th, 5th grade. But yeah, Too Sweet was our group.
And who put that together?
We both did, but she kept telling me to spell sweet, S-W-E-A-T. I'm like, girl, that is sweat. That is not sweet. So we were going to be Too Sweat. Get into it.
What ended up happening with this duo?
I moved to Memphis, so yeah. Shout out to MJ though, if you're watching this.
And did she continue on with music herself at all or no?
MJ was a hardcore athlete. Like that's partially where I got my, athletic inspiration, I guess, from. Like growing up, she really was doing that, like playing basketball, winning championships, going crazy. So she continued that throughout college.
When it came to these talent shows for you, was it just showcasing the talent or were they choosing winners?
They were choosing winners, I believe. Maybe not in middle school, but definitely in high school.
Did you ever go ahead?
And not in elementary school. They weren't doing winners in elementary for sure.
When it came to choosing winners, did you ever win or place?
Middle school, me and this guy, Nick, we had did a cover to Frank Ocean, but we had entered the competition late, so we actually weren't competing. We were just doing, like, entertainment in between an act, so we never were, able to do that. And then in high school, I had did it one time, and we had sang a Destiny's Child song, and we did not win that. That was crazy, though.
Now, when it comes to sports, you've already mentioned a variety of sports that you took part in. Mm-hmm. Did you take any of these sports serious, though?
My main two or three were basketball, volleyball, and track. But mainly basketball and track.
How far did you get with basketball or track?
I had to end both of them, unfortunately, my junior year because I tore my patellar tendon towards the end of my junior year. So my whole senior year, I was recovering. I tried to get back into track, and it just wasn't working. So I just stopped there, and I started taking music and my social media more serious.
How did that injury happen?
Playing basketball, literally just continuously playing on a hurt knee, getting worse.
Did people consult with you to stop? Or were they encouraging you to keep going?
So that's one thing I will say. I would go to practice and I would work out. We had an assistant. What is the therapist, the sports physical therapist? Yeah, we had a physical therapist, and he would be there to help us or whatever, and I would stretch my knee. We would do all types of stuff. And one day I had jumped, and that was the last straw because I landed wrong. And he was like, go to the doctor, see what they say. I got my scans, and the doctor was like, it looks like it's just a sprain, like it'll be fine, it'll heal. And they just kept saying that, like it's just a slight injury, whatever. And then one day it was just really swollen, and they're like, oh, something is wrong. So they ended up fixing it. But I had to go back a few times, like, not fun.
Did you end up having surgery on it?
I did. So I have like a big scar on my knee. My left side, like I have a lot of scars from just random stuff.
But you have fully recovered from that injury?
Yes, thank goodness. Like I could run better than ever now.
When you actually tear it, was that from that jump, was that caught on video at all?
I don't think so. Mm-mm.
And when that actually happened, do you remember what that felt like in that moment?
So I've done that same type of thing twice. The first time I was in elementary school doing long jump, and nobody, excuse me, nobody taught me how to jump like with the correct form. I literally could not get up. Like I had to be carried off the field, taken to the hospital. But the second time, I feel like I was just more tough. Like, no, like I'm good, like it's okay. And I just got up and I just limped over and they, helped me.
This first time, it didn't, when you were describing about the long jump, that didn't require surgery or anything?
No, I had to wear a brace. It was this green and white brace, and my leg was just stiff for like a couple weeks.
And it happened to your other leg?
Yeah, it was the opposite knee.
And when you were a junior playing basketball, was that varsity?
Yes, I was on varsity and junior varsity.
When you did varsity, were you a starter?
No.
If you were a senior, maybe?
Yes, and I feel like with basketball, and I'm not just saying this because we could run the tapes back, your girl was hooping, but it's a lot of politics that go with basketball too. And, we had different coaches come in and switch out. We actually had one of our coaches pass away during the season, so a lot happened. We went through like 3 to 4 coaches, and it was just, a big switch. But elementary through middle school, I started every single year.
And when you did track, was that varsity also your junior year?
Yeah, track was varsity. I've always been one of the fastest, like even with basketball, and I feel like that's why, I was on varsity is because I was very fast.
So when you did have this injury happen when you were on basketball, did you even get a chance to do track as a junior or no?
No, so that season was just trashed. It was towards the end of the basketball season too, so we had already been conditioning for track.
So prior to you being a junior, were you varsity in track as a sophomore?
Yes, and I think my sophomore year was the first year that I started running track in high school.
And I'm not too familiar with track, but are there starters and non-starters with track, or is everybody a starter that's on track?
So the way that I remember is like you have different races that you do, and there's certain people who do certain races. So if you're a faster person, of course you're going to do this certain race, and then maybe the next person will go to the junior track meet or whatever. But, yeah, so like 2 people might run the 400, and then you might have 2 people that are better at the 800, so they'll do that type thing. I don't know if that made sense, but I tried.
Now, I know you said athleticism runs in your family, but what led you to basketball, and then what led you to track?
So basketball, like my dad, he always played basketball growing up. He was actually very good. Honestly, like I'm not saying like I'm a burden or anything because I know my parents love me. But if I wasn't, around when they were in high school, my dad would probably be like professional. So yeah, that's really what influenced me to play basketball and track. I just really like running. I really just like running.
Which sport came first for you?
They both are around the same time, literally, 4th grade.
Which was your favorite out of the 2?
I like track because it's more individual, so yeah.
Which sport were you better at between the 2?
I feel like I was equally good at both of them. I just didn't really get to do what I wanted to do in high school.
What position were you in basketball?
I played the 3 and the 4.
Jersey number?
23 and 22.
Picked or given?
I picked 22. That's always like been my number since I was in 4th grade. And then 23, I think, was the only one they had for varsity. It was something like that. I don't know.
What's the meaning behind 22 for you?
I really just liked the number 2. It was nothing specific.
And I know that the injury happened towards the end of basketball season, your junior year, but did they go into some sort of competition? I mean,
Yes.
you weren't a part of that, but...
So after I stopped playing, they still continue to do very well. Like, when I say they could probably do a movie about that basketball team in that year, because we went through so much emotionally, like with losing our coach and all that stuff, transitioning with the new coaches. So we were very motivated to win championships because we had lost somebody so important to us. So I feel like that was the motivation throughout the whole 4 years for my group, you know.
So in that particular year, the junior year where the injury happened, how far did they end up going?
To the championship, I believe. I don't know if they won, but that was so long ago. I know they went to the championship, though.
How did that coach pass away, if you don't mind me asking?
Cancer. Yeah.
And did you have a relationship with that coach?
We were building one, you know what I'm saying? So that's what even, hurt a lot of us freshmen at that time.
When it came to track, were you, I don't know what they call it. Again, I'm not too familiar with that sport, but were you always part of a certain type of race, or was it a position that they called you had or held?
Definitely. So, like, I ran the 400 and the 8, and I also did hurdles. I started, running hurdles towards the end of my track career or journey, and that was very fun. And I've also done relays.
And did you have I don't want to say a jersey number, but did you have a number of some sort?
In track, it doesn't really work like that. Like, you kind of just wear your uniform and they give you a sticker, and whatever sticker they give you, that's what you go off of.
And when it came to some sort of competition, when you were on the track team and able to run, did you get far competition-wise?
Yeah, like, every time that I've ran, I've always got within the top 5. You know what I'm saying? The first few races, that was like when I was getting top 5, but everything else, top 3, top 4, never just last.
But did it ever get as far as like some sort of regional competition?
Oh, yes, we've been to state, definitely. And volleyball too. I've went very far with volleyball. That wasn't my favorite out of everything.
Varsity too with volleyball?
Yeah.
So just to back up, what sports did you play varsity in? Was it just these 3, volleyball, basketball, and track?
So I feel like because I played sports for so long, and the way that it works, when you're a freshman, you automatically start JV with everything, no matter what, at least at the school I went to. And then after, you play your sophomore and junior year, you start moving up to varsity. In some sports, you could play both of them. So you play JV and varsity to get your playtime, whatever. So yeah, I've always played like both of everything. And then once I got to my junior year with basketball, it was mainly more varsity.
So just for the record, were these 3 the only sports you played varsity?
Yeah, well...
Volleyball, basketball, and track?
Yeah, those are like the ones that I took the most serious. Golf, I had played golf my freshman year because that was a bonding thing between me and my grandfather, and we would do it all the time during the summer, but I never took it serious. Like, it was just something fun to do.
Grandfather on your mother's side or father's side?
My father's side. So my grandparents on my father's side live in Memphis. My mom's side lives in Washington. Excuse me.
Now, had this injury not happened, how far do you think you would have gone with basketball or track or volleyball?
Maybe to the collegiate level. Am I saying that right? So I feel like I might have taken it there. I had offers with volleyball. My volleyball coach was very adamant about getting me to play in college. She cared about us. She was also my volleyball coach in middle school. So I really just didn't want to be committed to that lifestyle, because I had already made it up in my mind that I didn't want to be in college to begin with. So I know that was going to be just another thing.
And why that mindset at that time? Why you didn't want to go to college?
I feel like I was just so creative, and when it came to playing basketball and stuff, this is where I mean the tomboy and girly meets girly girl situation. Like, I wanted to get my nails done. I wanted to keep my hair done and do all this stuff, but I couldn't do it because every day I'd have to go to practice and immediately sweat it out or break a nail. You know what I mean? So that played a big role on why.
Ever attend prom?
I did twice. I don't even know if you would consider the first time attending because we went in for like not even 15 minutes and we left and we got food like and went back to the crib. That was it. And the second time, my date was literally a complete stranger. Like one of my friends, her mom had her sons and they needed dates, so we just all went together. It was fun though.
Weird vibes?
No weird vibes at all. Everybody was popping. Like it was a vibe. It was a good vibe.
Fake vibes?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't want to. This is no tea, no shade, but I guess when I walked into the hotel where we were all meeting up, I didn't speak to their moms, my friend's mom and the boys' moms, and they felt some type of way. But I'm like, this is my prom night. Like, I walked in and I'm just like, what's good, everybody? Like, you know what I mean? That's a greeting to everybody. I didn't know I had to go singly speak to each person. So the mom of the boys felt some type of way, and when we went to the car, I was sitting in the front and we were in her Benz, and she was like, oh no, you're not finna have my son sitting in the back, because her other son was sitting in the back. She was like, this is not a valet. Like, she's just going in on me, and I'm like, okay, like, what's good? But with everybody else, it was cool. Like, my date, he was cool.
Okay, so let's back it up a sec.
Yes.
All right, what years did this take place? Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior?
So junior and senior year.
Okay, so junior year when you went for 15 minutes and then went back home, why?
Because, okay, so it wasn't my prom. The person I was with was like kind of like my middle school sweetheart, whatever you want to call it. And he actually had moved up a grade because he played basketball and he was trying to graduate early with his brother. So he didn't want to go to prom at his school. I'm like, you're going to go to somebody's prom. So I kind of just dragged him into that situation, and he had a few friends that went to our school, so I thought it was going to be fun. But, you know, at prom, you're with your date, you're doing your own thing, and I learned that if it's not your class, it's not really as fun as it would be with your own people. So we had just ended up leaving and getting food, like I said, Chick-fil-A, whatever it was.
So was it a bad night?
It wasn't no bad night, but it wasn't a prom night. Like, we were just literally all dressed up eating Chick-fil-A. Like, I don't know. It was cute.
So I got slightly confused in that scenario. What high school do you end up doing the prom at?
White Station. So we did it at my school.
Oh, okay. But you were doing it at a different class.
Yeah, so it was like, he moved up a class. So we were supposed to graduate 2016. He graduated 2015. So with the 2015 class, he knew a lot of the basketball players from, you know, that group. So they were all cool. And yeah, I thought it was going to be lit, but it wasn't.
Now, initially, why didn't he want to do prom, period?
Because he's not a social person. Like, that's just not his speed.
And what ended up happening with that relationship there?
He's still, like, somebody, like, I would consider, you know, when you have a first love, that's always going to be somebody that's just, like, there. I would never say that I don't know. This is a sticky situation, a sticky question. Hold on. Because that's the homie. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about him now, you know? Like, and that won't change, but that's it. That's all I got to say. Skirt. Done.
Okay. What about the blind prom date scenario? What ended up happening between you two?
Man, that was just for Insta at this point. Like, that's how I feel about that. Like, I don't know. That was my first time meeting them.
And last time, it sounds like.
Yeah, and last time.
Now, at the time you went to any of these proms, did they play your music at all?
No, I don't think I really just had anything that, like, solidified or, you know. I was recording stuff on GarageBand on my laptop.
And my last prom question that I didn't get a chance to ask you earlier, I know sometimes for prom, it's a big deal to some people.
Oh, yes, especially in the South. Like, baby, they go all out. Like, it's a wedding. It's a mini wedding.
How was it in each scenario you were in when you went the junior route and senior route?
I literally do my own glam. I do all that stuff myself. On my actual prom day, I had clients. Like, I was doing 4 or 5 faces before I did my own. So it was very fun to, you know, look at other people's dresses, create looks for them. I had cut my hair that morning, so my hair was real simple to do. I did finger waves. And then I just did like a nice, elegant glam in my dress. Now, I was very picky about my dress, and I did have some stuff added to it. My grandma, she sews as well, so she added like a long train to it, and my mom helped me pick the dress out. But it was really fun. Like, it was a good experience.
And this was grandmother on your father's side?
Yes, she's my step-grandmother.
Now, prom. So back then, for you, it was a big deal?
I feel like it was a big deal for everybody because it's something that you look forward to at the end of the year. We all wore uniforms too, so like we didn't really get to dress up like that. I was best dressed though. I'm just gonna say that was my superlative.
Now, let's say somebody's watching this and maybe they're about to attend their first prom.
Yes.
Anything you would say to them?
So, first prom, this is my whole theory just with life, or my mantra. Live in the moment. Like, I know y'all want to take pictures. I know y'all want to take videos, TikTok, all this stuff. But there is nothing more powerful than literally being present in the moment. Enjoy this, soak it in. It only happens once. That's what I got to say about it. And don't be out here doing, like, all this crazy stuff. Like, be mindful.
Crazy.
Be safe. Be safe and mindful. Don't be drinking. Don't be smoking. Don't be that kind of stuff. Y'all are still kids. Okay?
Now, what about superlatives? Did you ever win one of those before you graduated?
Yes. So my superlative was best dressed. Like I said, we had uniforms, so I feel like that's just kind of like they're teasing me. Like, what do y'all mean? But okay.
Yeah, how do you get best dressed? Well, I guess when you're in a school full of uniforms, they're giving best dressed to people that dress outside of school?
Yeah, that could be the case. And, we're also able to sauce it up with different silhouettes. And I feel like that is something that has helped me with building a clothing brand because you could wear, different collar shirts or different silhouettes of a collar shirt. You know what I mean? One could be flowy, one could be fitted. You could wear a dress, so on and so forth.
Because you have experienced a school with uniforms. Did you ever experience a school without uniforms?
Yes. In Washington, we didn't have to wear uniforms. And it was such a shock to me moving to Memphis. Like, that was, like, where I put my foot on the ground. I'm like, y'all are already dragging me from my home, stripping me from my grandparents, and now I have to wear uniforms? Like, that was it for me. But now the kids at the same schools I went to, they don't have to wear uniforms anymore. Like, it's no longer a thing.
Because you experienced both, a school with uniforms and a school without, what is your opinion on school uniforms?
So, I feel like with having uniforms, you don't have the pressure of trying to outdress somebody, or you're not waking up and saying, "Oh, I'm finna get fly," and that's what I'm focusing on. You're waking up, you're putting on your uniform, you're going to school to do what you need to do. As to when you don't have uniforms, I used to plan my outfits like the night before. I would do my makeup in the morning. I would do all this stuff, just go OD with it. So, it definitely does mess with your intentions, I guess, throughout the day. So when you wear a uniform, you're just more focused. You're not worried about your physical appearance.
And just curious, when it comes to school uniforms, are you for it or against it?
I feel like people should be able to express themselves freely and do what they should do. So if you want to wear a uniform, wear a uniform. If not, then, Steve Jobs wore uniforms, and then you got people like Cardi B who wears whatever she wants to wear, I don't know if you could compare those two, but hey, that's what popped in my head.
Now, I don't think we addressed this in the conversation thus far, but why the move?
From Tacoma to Memphis.
Yes.
So my dad actually worked at like a steel factory, Atlas, and they were doing a bunch of layoffs. I think it might have been around like the recession, whatever. So yeah, he had got a job opportunity in Memphis. We do have family in Memphis. My grandfather like bought a house and we were able to live in that house. And my parents ended up buying that house from him. So it just all worked out.
Now, When it came to best dress, how did you actually win that superlative? How did they do it back then?
So I was actually like clueless about it. I guess people write your name and they just count the votes. I don't know. I didn't even know we were voting for this stuff. Like, I don't know.
So when you won it, what'd you think?
I was like, I'm best dressed? Okay. Like, that's cool. Because I'm a big, Kanye stan. And at that time, especially in my life, that's when he was starting with Yeezy, I feel. So the uniforms and Yeezy kind of went hand in hand. I'm like, okay, maybe they catching on to my swag.
Now, you end up furthering the education, and you attend college. And you end up going to what college? Refresh my memory.
University of Memphis. I actually was accepted into Clark, and I was going to go to Clark. And then I had met my roommates that I was going to stay with in Memphis, and I was like, I'm just going to stay here.
And did you take a break between high school and college, or you went right to high school?
Straight to it.
Okay. And it sounds like you lived on campus?
So I didn't technically live on campus. I lived across the train tracks in the apartments that are like, I call them, campus apartments, but they're not. It's just like furnished living.
So technically you were living off campus?
Yeah.
And what did you think of that?
It was really cool because I've never lived in a modern home, like a big home, none of that. I'm grateful for everything, and my parents are beyond blessed now, and they were back then. But anyways, so this was my first time really experiencing living in a brand new place because the apartments I moved into were just, developed or whatever. So it was very cool.
And do you wish you would have lived on campus, student housing?
No, not at all. Because I was going to originally, and then I had got into it with them girls that I was going to room with, and that's why I ended up staying off campus. Like, that's a whole crazy story in itself.
Who ended up becoming your roommates off campus?
My best friend, Jada.
And that was your first time dealing with a roommate?
Yes. So, yeah.
What was that experience like for you?
Okay, so me and Jada, there's no beef, but, we're not best friends like that anymore, you know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't spoke to her in a long time, dang near since college, so that speaks a lot for itself, I feel. And we also had a third roommate that we didn't know, and she would just do stuff like take your wet clothes and leave it on top of the dryer and put her stuff in there, and that's nah, no. Some roommate situations are good, but I don't recommend roommate situations, especially with your friends. No.
So had you not roommated with your friend, if that's even a word, then maybe that relationship might be different today?
I do, and I feel like if we were taught boundaries at a younger age, especially when it comes to living situations, that would have been a big difference too.
Do you think this stranger roommate also hurt the relationship between you and your friend?
Of course, because she just would do all this messy stuff. So that on top of whatever else was going on, that's just, adding fuel to the fire.
When it came to attending college financially, how did you afford it?
So I did have a scholarship or whatever, and then my mom also helped me.
Academic scholarship?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I don't know what it's called, but yeah.
Because you were injured with athletics, there was no athletic scholarship. There could have been a possible volleyball scholarship, though, right?
Yes. I actually talked to the Crew Center, which is a business part of University of Memphis, and they were talking about helping me get re-enrolled and taking care of my scholarship and all this stuff because they see that I have an established business now. Okay. Excuse me. They see I have an established business now, and they want to help me continue to build that. So it's pretty cool.
Now, before you attended the University of Memphis, what was its reputation? Did it have one?
I feel like when I went, it was very poppin' still. It was at its probably peak because now it's just very dry. they're changing up campus and stuff, so it looks a lot nicer. But as far as the people and the vibe of campus, it's not the same. And the pandemic, too, so.
When it came to the U of M, what did you like the most about that school, if anything?
I loved the fact that it gave me a reason to push myself to find something else to do. Like, that's really what school is either going to inspire you to, pursue what your dreams are, or it's going to inspire you to, lock in on whatever your major is. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to inspire you either way, but it's going to be one of the two.
Speaking of dreams, when you did enter college, was there a plan? Was there a goal?
So I told my mom, like, before I graduated high school, I want to move to New York. I want to be a singer. Like, I want to do this. Like, I had a goal. I had a plan, whatever, a vision. And she was just like, we would get into it all the time throughout my senior year. And she was like, you have to at least try school. So that's what I was like, okay, I'll try it. And that's why she helped me pay for it and all this stuff. And it just wasn't for me. But whenever I would, like, skip class or do something that wasn't pertaining to school, I was always making sure that it was benefiting me in the way of, building my business or whatever the case may be. I used to do YouTube videos like every day. You know what I'm saying? Working at Mac, building my clientele, doing stuff like that. And yeah, so.
Now, the opposite end of the spectrum, what did you like least about the University of Memphis, if anything?
The fact that it's school. Like, I'm not gonna say I hate school because that's a very strong word. I think the curriculums should be changed. You know what I'm saying? Like, make it a little bit more pertaining to life. They don't teach you, you can teach people about life, and they say that you can't, but you really can.
Overall, what did you think about the school, the time you were there? Give me a review on it.
That was just very, like, it's like a blur. Those whole 2 years are like a blur. I just feel like I got there, I figured out what I wanted to do, and then I dropped out.
Was there ever a thought on joining a sorority?
Never, ever, ever, ever in my life. No disrespect to nobody, but, like, I'm lonely. Like, I don't do well with stuff like that.
Anything else you want to mention about that school, or a question I didn't ask people want to know about it since you attended once?
I was in a relationship during my college years, like both of those years, and I feel like that affected a lot of my mental health because I never started experiencing like mental health issues until that situation in college. That's actually another reason that I withdrew. Like, I have doctor's notes that say like you're diagnosed with anxiety, and I had to take that to school and all that. Like, it was just a lot of stress. And to anybody that's entering college, like, just leave the relationship stuff alone. Like, just focus on what you got to do. I know parents say this stuff all the time, but, like, seriously, coming from somebody around that age group, y'all, focus. It's not that serious at all.
What ended up happening with that relationship you were in?
I feel like I said, we weren't taught boundaries. We just kind of were invading too much of each other's space, and I feel like that became overwhelming for the both of us, so we just had to, go our separate ways.
Technically, you broke off with him, he broke off with you. It was mutual?
It was very mutual. And, yeah, to this day, it's like no bad blood, but it is what it is with that.
People knew you did music while you were in college?
Yes. And honestly, going back to the relationship, that's another reason it didn't last, because the person I was with didn't really support or see the vision of what I was trying to do with my music, with my beauty stuff, all of that. Like, they thought I was doing too much.
Did you gain a fan base at all while you were in college for your music?
That's when it really just started to, like, pop off a little bit for me, like, because of the tutorials. My whole marketing thing back then was I would do my makeup tutorials and put my music on the back of the videos. This is before TikTok and all that stuff. So, like, yeah, and they would go viral. I would get, like, 1 million views on Instagram with my music playing, and then they would go to SoundCloud and run that gen up.
Did anyone attend the U of M while you were there end up becoming well-known or famous themselves?
Not that I know of, but I was always like to myself, so.
Now, you end up dropping out second semester of sophomore year?
Yes.
And I don't know if you stated in this interview the reason.
Well, one, my anxiety, and then two, my business. Like,
You did mention that.
yeah, you know Queen Blackwell. Ooh, I might be saying her name wrong. She's like, she does the funny crying memes. Like, I don't know. But she had retweeted my picture for Black Friday. And when I say that month, it was just crazy. From that point on, it was crazy. So I just was like, I can't do this. I'm doing like thousands of orders and trying to do schoolwork. It's not working out.
What was your parents' reaction to this decision?
They were in complete 110% support of that decision because I had a plan. That's what they were in fear of, me not having a plan, you know?
What'd you tell them the plan was?
The plan was to continue to grow my business and to expand on all business ventures.
And how did they find this decision out, or do you straight up tell them?
I just let them know at some point, and I feel like once you become a certain age, you're an adult. So people have to respect your decisions. You know what I'm saying? And that's a conversation that I had to have with my parents as well. Is like, you know, I'm no longer a kid anymore, so you can give me advice on what to do, but you can't tell me what to do or how to do it anymore. You know?
Do you remember how you had that convo?
Oh, I absolutely do. It was not like just a chill convo at all. And not in no bad way. I feel like when you say how you feel, it gets your emotions out, you know?
So this was something done in person?
Yeah, definitely.
Looking back at how everything played out now, did you make the right or wrong decision dropping out when you did?
I feel like I wouldn't change this for nothing. Honestly, I made the right decision.
And why do you say that?
Because where I'm at right now is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Now, do you wish you would have finished and gotten that associate's before you make that decision? Do you wish you would have skipped college altogether and went straight into the business or music? Or are you happy with some sort of experience of college under your belt?
So I will say this. You can never really miss something or understand something until you've tried it at least once. So I'm always grateful for every experience in my life. Do I think everything is necessary? If it happens, then it has to be. You know what I'm saying? So I think if you don't go to college, you still have to be very mindful and educate yourself on things that you are wanting to learn. Like, I'm an entrepreneur, so I read about business. I have books with me right now. The Power of Now is like a spiritual enlightenment book that I suggest everybody reads. It's a great book. Asking It's Given, like things like that. So definitely still educate yourself if you're taking that risk. You know what I mean? So. And you could teach yourself way more than a lot of these professors in these schools can teach you if you know what you want. You know what I mean? You have to want it, though.
Now, I can't remember if I even asked you this or you said it in the interview, so if I'm repeating myself, I apologize, but did you say why you chose to go to the University of Memphis?
Well, I kind of did. I just decided to go there because I had met my roommates. These girls that were in the city, they were really cool, and I just felt comfortable staying with them.
Okay, so this leads me to the question I was going to ask you anyways, which was, did you choose the wrong school?
I don't ever feel like I chose the wrong anything.
And at what point is music taken serious, unless it already was, prior to you dropping out, after you drop out?
I feel like I've always been the person to take the music serious. It was about the people taking me serious, you know?
The Nless situation that happens after dropping out?
Yeah, that happened like almost immediately after me dropping out. That's kind of like that's exactly why I don't regret my decisions, because once you take a risk, it's like instant reward every single time.
Can you explain how that situation unraveled?
So the day I dropped out, I was with my boyfriend at the time, and after that, maybe like a month later, after spring break-ish time, we broke up. After we broke up the same week, maybe the next day, me and my friend had drove to Atlanta, and my car broke down in Atlanta. She left me. She had to go back home. I had to buy a whole new car in Atlanta. I drove back and I wrote this song, No Cap. So when I got to Memphis, I recorded No Cap on my birthday. And this is when I turned 20, I believe. The song that I recorded was the session that D Moolah walked in on. And D Moolah is signed to Nless. So when he walked in, he was like, yo, like, I want to work with you. I want to get on this. Like, let's lock in. So we locked in. 2 days later, we go to the studio. We do a Who Run It freestyle. That's when that challenge was big. And we dropped No Cap. Zebo, Zach Randolph, he's part owner of Nless, and he heard our No Cap song in Head. He's also part owner of Nless as well, and they really liked that song, so that's how I, came into contact with them. And that same summer, I had went on like a mini tour with Bag and D Moolah and all of them, and got to know the label, and we all vibed. And a couple months later, or the next summer, they reached out to me and they're like, yo, we want to sign you, so.
And you end up doing so.
Yeah, I did. And, I always told myself that I would like try to stay independent as long as I can and do what I needed to do. But Nless just really feels like family. Like, they've always taken care of me. I'm the first lady of the label. So that's very dope, like, to be able to have that position right now.
And care to share what kind or what type of contract you end up signing?
Honestly, like, my mom and my lawyers, they deal with all that stuff, but I know that I'm in the best hands when it comes to that, because my mom, she cares about me. I'm her child. But yeah.
Are you biologically related to anyone on Nless?
No.
And did you pass on any other offers before signing with Nless?
I did. So I was actually contacted by somebody who was trying to invest in my brand as a whole, so with the beauty and everything. And they wouldn't, like, elaborate on who the big person was that was funding this thing until I signed the contract. So I felt like that was sketchy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and bigger risks, the bigger the reward. But at the same time, when you're signing your contract and your music and all these rights to your music, like, you gotta know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just be signed to, what's the guy that be doing the messages on the prompt? Not Scarface. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Saw?
No, he looked like Saw.
He got the clown face.
Yes, he be on YouTube doing the messages. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay, whatever. Somebody's gonna know.
Care to share who it was you passed on?
Well, I don't know.
Oh.
I wish I did. It was the Saw guy, like Jigsaw shit. I don't know.
When it comes to Nless, do you remember what month or year you signed?
It was October of 2019, 2020 or 2019.
And at this point, do you consider yourself a full-time recording artist?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm not going to say full-time, because I do try to balance everything. So, like, when I'm working on a collection, I might lock in on my clothing collection for a month and then move on to whatever other project I need to do. Right now, like, I've been out here in Atlanta wrapping up my album, so I try to keep everything in rotation. I'm a full-time entrepreneur, like, for real.
And the last thing I want to ask you about is the anxiety.
Yes, let's get into it.
You were actually diagnosed with it by
a doctor.
A doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And what age was this when this happened?
I had to have been like 20. 21, 20.
And how was it discovered?
So I feel like my first real panic attack or anxiety attack was when this is very personal, like the person I was dating at the time, I found out that they were like cheating on me. So I had never been in a situation where somebody I loved had done something like that to me, and my household was so pure. Like I said, I grew up in a protective place, so I would never have expected somebody to treat me that way. But that's not how the real world works. And I remember going to class, and I just could not get the courage to go to class. Like I was like shaking. And so I told my mom, and my mom works in like the hospital field, the healthcare industry, whatever. So up the street was like the clinic she worked at. So I went up there and I talked to the guy, and we're going over everything. And he was just telling me like, you know, you have the symptoms of anxiety. He wrote it down. Like, he's like, you could either talk to a therapist or you could take pills. And I'm like, I don't really want to do either. You know what I'm saying? Because pills, I don't like putting stuff into my body to begin with. That's just always been me. I don't like fruit, none of that. Like, and so with the therapist, I wasn't closed off to it. It just never happened. I tried multiple times to get a therapist, and it's like so hard, especially in Memphis right now too. Like,
Does this run in your immediate family by any chance?
oh yes. Like, my mom doesn't have anxiety. I feel like, I don't know who really has anxiety in my family. I think me and my dad are probably the biggest overthinkers because we're very much so like perfectionists, and I think that's the problem. My mom and my brother are more like, they're more free flowing, you know? They're like, it is what it is. Me and my dad are like, no, what is the problem?
When it comes to anxiety, have you overcome this, or is this something you're still battling with today?
I can say, like, this year especially, I feel like I'm done with anxiety. Like, I've completely gotten rid of it for the time being. I know how to control it when I start feeling some type of way. Like, meditation and yoga, y'all, I cannot stress it enough.
And circumstances could be different for everybody, but anything you would say to someone battling anxiety, generally speaking?
So, like I just said, meditation and yoga have literally been my medicine personally. Understanding, life for what it is. Read The Power of Now. If you have anxiety, please educate yourself. Learn more about it, because most anxiety comes from not knowing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we fear what we don't know. Another thing is, don't think about the past too much, because the past is what, makes you sad. And when you think about the future, that's what causes you anxiety. Literally just be in the moment, and that will literally make your anxiety go away. Sounds simple, and I'm telling y'all, it is simple. You just got to do it.
What do you want people to know about those who have been diagnosed with anxiety?
That just because you feel like somebody is more vulnerable or somebody is more emotional, that they are not weak at all. I feel like you have to be weak to understand what it is to be strong. So have respect for everybody. Don't judge people, no matter if they have anxiety or whatever the case may be. Everybody is unique and different in their own way, and respect that.
Is this something that you've mentioned in your music at all?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely.
On music that's out that people could listen to?
Yes, SoundCloud has like all my music, and I have a lot of like emotional, things that I talk about.
Care to share the username on your SoundCloud?
Yes, it's Lonely Girl 444, and that's GRL.
And when it comes to anxiety, is this something you've been public with on social media?
I have. Actually, back like a long time ago, when I first started facing it, like, I wanted to do some type of collection with my company to, just to shine more light on the subject. And I did have like a pack of colors, and they were named different things. And one of them was a blue color, and I named it anxiety. Well, this one girl had commented, and she's like, you shouldn't, do that with something that's a mental health issue. And I'm so grateful that she said that to me in that moment, because me thinking on the innocent, pure side, like, you know, I'm shining light to this subject and this matter, and I want to donate and do the right thing, it could be triggering somebody. You know what I'm saying? So I did, you know, although I was trying to speak up and use my platform for something good, it did teach me something in that moment as well.
So what ended up happening with that situation?
I just didn't launch it, like, because it was a collection that I was introducing, and I want to respect everybody. And, you know, I feel like if that's the right thing to do, then that's the right thing to do.
Was this before cancel culture?
I feel like it was before cancel culture. I don't think I've ever done anything, no tweets, nothing to be canceled.
And what about when it came to your YouTube? Would you document the anxiety? Would you talk about the anxiety on your YouTube?
I've shared different moments and like glimpses of my anxiety with my YouTube. Going to the post office was always a big one for me, because every experience I've had with the post office is usually not a good one. So one experience, I was literally walking out crying. So I shared that story on YouTube, and that was pretty crazy.